Hello. All right, looks like the audio is good this time. I'm gonna make sure. Hello, and welcome to another Python Wagtail open source web development hangout. Previously, I've been working on unit tests. Today, I'd like to improve those unit tests. But in order to do so, I would need a little bit more rapid feedback. So reduced cycle time, I suppose you would call it. Every time I run these tests, we need to spin up a database, run all of our project migrations on that database, and then execute tests, and then tear down that database. The tests run very rapidly, but the spinning up and the database with the migrations takes a really long time. And it requires a Docker service, which also takes a long time for me to start. So I want to kind of see if I can simplify things. The reason I added this Postgres service is we're going to use Postgres in production, and there's popular advice that says to use the same database in production that you use in development. I sort of ignored that for a while because I do appreciate the simplicity of using SQLite in development. It's just fast, and you can just work with it. It's just a flat file. However, in the life cycle of this project, we've added some features that seem to require Postgres. The ones I can think of, I've listed here. I think we've got in a list or array field somewhere. I don't know specifically, so we'll see if we can find that. Wagtail, I think 4 started offering the ability to store these stream fields, which are just block-based editor fields, in a JSON representation rather than a big string, I guess, for performance. And searching, I've been adding indexes, and we might be using some search functionality that won't work without Postgres. So if any of those basically won't allow us to go forward, then I'll figure out a different way of speeding up the tests, probably by squashing migrations. But it's really a bummer that, I don't know, trying to have a good development environment and now start developing more safety into the application with unit tests and type hinting. But it just introduces complexity, and it's actually in some ways detrimental because it slows down the process. So I can't iterate. So it's a double-edged sword. It's not a panacea. There's these safety mechanisms. So let's just see if I can switch to SQLite just for the time being. So if we look at, for example, our models, see if we're using any list or array fields. Most of the model fields are defined with a prefix models dot. So that's going to give us a little bit signature to search for. And I guess the first thing to do would be to change the configuration to use SQLite. See what breaks. There's just a list field. So I'm not using the list field. But I am using JSON, which I think inherently is like behaves like a list field, because you have a list of objects. Go to our core settings, base, and if I don't pass a database URL, Let's see, maybe I can flag this on debug. Oops. Yeah, just give it a little bit of a type hint. That way I didn't have to look in the docs. It's a bit quicker than looking in the docs. This is a bit of a mess. Also, I've hard-coded these. Let's just do this. Maybe. So, migrate. See if this works first. Okay. So this is a genuine thing I need to fix. I just added these and I had the max length attributes. I'm surprised it didn't. I didn't notice that before, at least. All right, documents, models. So we can commit these in the main branch. This essentially the code has been merged, and I'm the only developer here. So let's commit to main. It's really arbitrary. And this one says 20. Well, let's at least be consistent. So we've got so many migrations. Cannot quote parameter value type list. Yeah, okay, so that's what I'm noticing is we've got a list field. I think I'm going to have to squash these anyway because a lot of these are just gone. All right, well, let's see. But at least I've got this migration. All right, let's try this. Let's try squashing migrations. First, I'm going to commit these. Before I get into squash, because I might have to roll back that squash. It's a bit of a rock and hard place, though. To squash, I need to re-enable Postgres. I'll make this a bit vague. Even just searching the Django docs is kind of tedious. I have to get several attempts of searching to get to the right place. Weird. It is well documented as it is. It's just I'm not. Well, DuckDuckGo is one factor, and then the organization of the docs is another factor. All right. So let's go with the squash first. Starting this is not a big deal. This is the tedious process. We have to have Docker running, Docker containers running, Postgres. I'll get a coffee while this is starting. I guess that's one perk. All right, still starting up. Attaching. Almost there. Oh, it is running, and I forgot to hit -D. Oh, that's okay. I'll leave it there for now, just so it would run in the background. All right, so what we'll do, I don't know, start top to bottom, accounts. Can I just squash the whole thing? Well, without hundreds at a time, migration code is optimized to deal with hundreds at a time without much slowdown. I don't know. I don't think that's, there's like a linear scaling thing. The more of these you have, the longer you're waiting for them to run. I don't see that that's true. It's just, I mean, they're fast. They do run fast, but it's like compounding. You're just not compounding. It's just literally like layering. All the history of the project, all the changes just has to run it. That takes time. I don't know what it is in big O notation. What's just N1 or whatever, something like that. Big O linear time. ON time. Is that log? Yeah, it's just ON time. So yeah, it's still gonna wait. I don't think I want to wait every time I run tests. That's the key thing. Is that waiting? If it was just in a deployment process, that's not a big deal. Or when I'm running an initial development environment to get started for the day or week or however often I need to run those migrations, those aren't bad. When I'm cycling on these test cases, I'm running these over and over and over. Granted, I'm now able to use a debugger, but I had to write a management command that essentially simulated my test cases, and I'd just rather run the tests. That's the problem. That's where the migrations start to become painful. Let's squash. I want to just squash them all. I don't want to list every single migration. Okay, so squash is up to that one. All right, so let's see. That was a lot quicker than the Django docs. For some reason, I just didn't quite understand it. Migration name. There's just so much text, perhaps, and it's small type font face. Come on. This is not an academic paper. Let me read bigger than 12-point font. What is that even? Font face. Wow, 1M. Margin. Text. Font size. 1.4 rems. What's the root in? %, huh? But it's getting overridden down the line. And they're saying 18 pixels. Why is it so slow here? So small here. And it's getting bigger there. 1.4 rem. 14 pixels. $18 pixels here. Like, they're not being stingy with the font size. It just seems small to my eyes. This is 14 or 18. Some weirdness going on. I increased it for this stream. Okay, so let's get back to it. Yeah, so I just need the number migration name, which is actually numeric, I think. All right, so checking the stream. Hey, Zezith, how you doing? Switching from Postgres to SQLite. Oh yeah. I can approve that, but let's watch our language. I know it's surprising. Yeah, usually it is the other way around. I'm doing it for basically simplicity and cycle to reduce cycle time. I've got a bunch of migrations that I've accumulated in the project, and they run in, I guess, log or ON time, so they run in linear time. I don't know. Means each one just has to run, and it's not so bad when they run when starting out development or deploying on a remote server. But what's happening is I'm writing unit tests, and my test suite, to a large extent, depends on having an active database. So it needs to create a testing database, run all the migrations, run my tests, then tear it down every time I want to iterate on my tests. And right now I'm just writing the test, so I'm iterating quite a lot. You know, we write code 10% of the time and debug 90% of the time. Like when I'm writing, I'm trying to get it to work. So having these migrations in the loop, and sorry, the other thing, when I've getting these out of order, but the other problem is I have to have a Docker service running here, and it's just a bit of overhead. So I think the migrations and everything, creating the development database would be faster with just SQLite, just a flat file. It creates it, runs the migrations in linear time, and I don't have to have the Docker running, Docker container. So it's an experiment I'm rolling back, contrary to popular advice, like you pointed out. I kind of summarized it at the beginning of the stream, but I'm going to try this squashing first. So if I can just get by with fewer migrations, then it's not so bad to have a Postgres daemon running inside of Docker and run a few like migrations. Should be okay. Just really slow, and I need to be able to iterate on this. Reducing cycle time is good for increased development velocity, good developer experience. I think reduced cycle times in general are good for healthy businesses. That's why we have frameworks like Agile, to help us iterate fast and learn quickly. And it comes down even at this micro level. I need to learn quickly and correct my mistakes fast. And if I'm waiting, days, weeks, or months, it feels like when these migrations are running sometimes, I'm like able to go away from the keyboard and grab a coffee. Yeah, so that's why I'm switching back to SQLite for simplicity and development velocity. How are you doing today, by the way? But first we'll start with Squash. I think at least that can shave off some of the time. So even if I keep Postgres, I might not be able to get Postgres out of the project because of a few parts of the code where we might just absolutely need it, particularly the search index. So how do I squash them? So let's go accounts, migrations. The latest is, 001, so no need to squash anything there. That's old code and doesn't change very often. Addresses, maybe. No models there. Interesting. How does that? That even possible? I think it was a thing I was going to try and didn't end up using it. I'm trying to have a common address model across the project. Blocks, migrations. No, these are just wagtail blocks. Shopping cart, I don't think has any models to migrate. Community has some migrations. So 11, all right, there we go, there's the first one. So community 0012. I think that should just give us one migration there. Our project is getting relatively close to being right close to launch. We're in the last mile of things, and I can't say that with high confidence because I don't have a certainty about the quality of everything, particularly without unit cases. So I need to get this certainty and confidence, and that's why I'm adding unit cases at this stage. We'd like to launch this year, though. We would like to launch, I think in August is our target. All right, so now we've got a squashed migration. I should commit this migration, but leave the old ones in place. Yeah, that's okay. I think I will do that in this staged manner. All the new migration. Once you're sure all instances of the codebase have applied the migrations you squashed, you can delete them. Okay, so that's good advice. And I'll commit them all in one go. Contact model. Oh, 7. Triple 07. Yeah, I don't know if I should time this to get a sense of the difference here. Or just go forward with it. And I'm not positive that the migrations are the main culprit in the slowness of the tests, but the main delay happens when the test runner is creating a development database. So I've got Postgres running in Docker. It doesn't give me much verbosity. It's not telling me what it's doing. It's not telling me what it's doing, but I imagine it doesn't take too long to create the empty tables, but adding the structure, running all the migrations does take 10, maybe 20 seconds. Maybe I need a faster computer. I don't want to just get a new computer arbitrarily though. So let's find our new one. New migration, the next one. So we did contact, now we're on to documents. Yes. Donations. Let's do it. Yeah, I've done quite a lot of iterating on some of these collections, some of these databases, and experimenting. And there's fields that we're not even using anymore that are in the historic migrations. Events. So let's see if then we have any issues with interrelationships across the project. Migrations, only one facet migration. Fixtures, I don't think we're using. I should make use of that. That's a really nice feature. Forms, we don't really have them. Oh, we do. Okay. Well, it's just one, but all right. Forms. 0002. Yes. Migrations, not main, home app. One more. The library has quite a few. .0016. Let's see, those don't show me the cursor. Libraries, good. Magazine. Oh yeah, done a lot of work here in the magazine. Yeah, these start to add up. Each one of them, even if it only takes a fraction of a second, well, they're cumulative. Some of them are slightly more complicated, I suppose. I don't know. There's probably some proportionality to the operations that a migration is doing and the time it takes. I mean, I think everything has to be at least linear time. You can't, I mean, I don't know. There's like, I don't know much about big O notation, but I don't know if there's like sublinear time or some kind of a, I don't know. I'll have to read more about that. In other words, well, they have log time, which would be kind of sublinear, right? Logarithm goes like that. An exponential. So yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Where the slope is less than 1, well, like that's what a logarithm does. Interesting. I don't know much about math even. Algebra. I need to polish up my worldly knowledge. So now we're into memorials. One more. Yeah, it is usually the other way around, going from SQLite to Postgres. And I think that's because SQLite can't do certain things that Postgres can do, and you end up having inconsistencies in your development environment in the production code and bugs that occur only when using the new or the other development environment or the production environment, in other words. But I mean, I don't know how common those are. It seems like we're a bit overcorrecting by saying everybody should always use Postgres in development. I think our industry is notoriously overcorrecting in many ways. DevOps, cloud compute, serverless functions, React. Or I should say SPA, not React. It's actually the SPA. Apparently I've done a bit of work on the news. So 27-8. Not bad. Not bad at all. So let's just pretend those each took a second, to run. Okay. Only one here. Payment. Migrations, none there. Search? No, it's more of an interface. Migrations and shipping. I don't have a model here. It's just like a calculator. Shipping calculator. Store? I think we have orders here. But one migration is all we needed there. So subscriptions should have some. Not very much though. For whatever reason, I haven't had to do a lot of changes to the subscription model. I think it was because it was coming out of a textbook, more or less. It was very conventional, textbooky. Oh, 3. The book was Django 3 by example, which now we're on to Django 4 by example. Okay, so this should be plural by convention, I believe. Broke the convention. That's older code. 10 operations to 3. So it's not just the number of migrations, actually. That's a good observation. It's the number of operations. And WF page should have some migrations here. Oh, yeah. It should be WF pages again. Oh, it is. And 16. So getting our operations down, that's the goal. from 19 to 5. So there we go. I think those are overall really good improvements. I'm going to follow the advice to leave the old Docker, the old migrations, the script in place, only removing them when we come around time to deploy to production. But let's now run these migrations. So the deal is I've got Docker running over here. I need to tear that down and reset the database. Oh, actually, then I needed to not tear that down. I'll just put it in the daemon or the background or run it in the background. Now I can run my manage pi, reset database. That'll kind of drop all the tables. And now, let's see how long these migrations take. Well, over 40 seconds, like 45 seconds. So that's the pain I'm feeling every time I run the test. It's got to run all of those migrations. And so that's adding like 1 minute approximately to each test run. It's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way of, people have had to solve this problem. I'm using Django. This project has been around for a long time. People have been writing tests and running code in development environments. So there's got to be a way of persisting the development database. I don't have to rerun the migrations each time, right? The test database. Yeah, this is exactly it. I know other people have gotten this issue. So absurd. And PyTest, I mean, this has got to be something that's solved by a flag. Okay, wow. Does this work? Man, I searched for this before. Keep DB. Wow. Man. The squashing migrations, I guess, is good. I'll keep it as long as it, I mean, they all ran. Okay, it'll flush all the data. That's cool. But it won't flush the migrations. That should be the default behavior, honestly. Hey, this is great though. And great explanation. If it runs, I'm upvoting it. I mean, I want to upvote. Why is it 0? Okay, it's not downvoted. It just hasn't been upvoted yet. None of these have been. Not much upvoting going on here. PyTest is basically not what they're asking for. I might end up going with PyTest. I'm running PyTest at my day job. There we go. So it ran it. The tests are running in a fraction of a second. Is that it? Let's run it again. But the whole thing, how do I time something in the console? Oops. That's much better. Oh, so good. So good. And the K is just a shorthand for that. Oh, great, great. Boing. Well then. Do we keep the squash migrations? I don't know. I don't know. I thought we can preserve this. The whole driving desire for this was to reduce the migration time. It still takes 45 seconds to run them on my local computer, so that didn't really amount to much, the squashing. It still has to run all these operations. There's internal migrations that I can't control, the wagtail migrations and other packages that I'm relying on. They're not squashing, understandably, because they've got downstream projects depending on them. You know, maybe it's good housekeeping to have fewer migrations, but the Django documentation points out it's going to be nominal or very marginal, the gains you will get from them. There's some linear time that's going on with the operations and the amount of time they take. I don't know the exact graph of that time, but they, you know, they're additive. They add up. Some operations are faster than others, I imagine, but computing takes time. So I'm on the fence as to whether to keep this. Yeah. It's 9:15 though, so time for day job. It's been a good session. So yeah, I hope things like Stack Overflow and the great community stay around in this this LLM era, large language model era. Although I'm curious how rapid of an answer I would have gotten from a large language model, and avoid things like downvotes or scolding for not, or for asking duplicate questions and things like that. There's trade-offs. But nonetheless, these large language models are learning from us. So we need the input. We need the community. It is foundational. So let's be careful. Let's not destroy that. I'll upvote the question as well. All right. Thanks for your time. Hope you're doing well out there, and have a great day.